Now we're in the back of a nursery. We're in an area that is not accessible for all of the employees, but it's very important to understand why and what happens. So sanitation is extremely important in every step of the way to grow plants. So diseases come from basically not having good sanitation a lot of times. And you want to prevent diseases as much as you can, of course, because you don't want to lose the plants to a disease or a pest. This process that I'm going to explain here does not prevent every disease, does not prevent pests necessarily, but it is one of those steps that must happen so you can prevent as much as you can. One of the most common problems in especially the almond production nursery is potted is a disease called Phytophthora. So I'm going to put a name over here as well. And that disease, we also call it a water mold. There are not many ways to fight it back after Phytophthora is already in your plant, but there is a lot of steps that you can do to prevent from going for the Phytophthora to affecting your plant. These are very, very common in most industries. So for the industry that buy a new container, plastic container, send it to the customer, and then every time they produce a new plant, they buy a new container, this is not a piece that is necessary. But for a company that reuses their containers, which is a very good opportunity to just reuse the same products that you already have, this behind me right here is a good idea. What are we looking at? So we're looking at the pots, the container that I used to produce the plants, right? So this is dirty, which means it could technically have some bacteria, some diseases, some water molds in here. Right? What we do is we put them in pallets and we stack them in a way, and then we put inside of this red container. But make sure that there's no soil at all would be a good idea. If you can wash the pallets to remove most, if not all, the soil from there, that would be great. And then you bring it in here. What's this? So this is basically a machine, like a pressure washer. But the pressure washer is not inside. That's the tricky part. The pressure washer is on the outside, just producing a lot of steam and then sending that steam through a pipeline inside of this container. I think you know where I'm going with this. As you close this door, there's a pipe down the line in both sides, and you can actually add in multiple sides as well if you want. That has small little holes in it, and as you turn that steam up on the water pressure or on the machine outside, that steam comes in here. The doors are closed, everything should be sealed. This one needs some remodeling and adding some insulation so you don't lose a lot of heat. But for now, you just close the doors and all of that steam just stay in there, heating up that container on the inside. What's in there? The pots are in there, those plastic containers are in there. And because the heat is so high, it's killing any type of pathogen. Let me rephrase that. It's killing most of the water molds that we are worried about. And another thing that it does help sometimes is weed seeds. If there's a weed seeds in there, because there's a little bit of soil, and in that soil there was weed seeds, that can go as well. Of course, the temperature in there gonna range between 180 to 220 degrees Fahrenheit. I can do the conversion for Celsius as well, but it's not gonna catch viruses. It's not gonna catch something that could resist that level of temperature. And again, if you put 220, you are losing a lot of energy. So it doesn't matter if your gauge says 220, you still have to put a sensor in there, and there are plenty out there in the market that are stainless steel sensors, that are waterproof sensors, that they can handle that type of temperature. We use one from Onset, and we put it in there to make sure that we know the temperature that is inside. Another thing, when you put the sensor, do not put it on the corners. You're gonna go in there and put it in the middle where the pots are, because that's what you wanna see, how hot it got in the coldest part. Because on the outside, you're gonna get a lot of heat, right? But on the inside of the spots, you may not. So that's where you want your thermostat to be, is inside of those pallets. And make sure that your walls are insulated. That's why we need to remodel this, because you are losing a lot of heat. So your gauge outside says 220, but you need to know what the temperature that hit those plastic actually is. Okay? So that is why this process is so important. You ship the trees to your customer, you bring the pots back, you clean them up, you put it in here, you sterilize, and guess what? Now you can reuse it again. You can put soil again in it and plant new trees that are going to be starting from scratch, clean tree. There are other methods to do this. There are other companies that use tubs, like gigantic tubs with a chemical product in it. And you can do that too. But this method seems to be a lot easier and safer to do it, and it might last a lot longer because you don't have to be replacing that liquid inside of a tub. You can wash it off with a lot of different sanitizers out there. There are different companies that sell different sanitizers. But what if you steam them, which is, in my opinion, one of the best ways, and then you apply that sanitizer later? You can apply that on the soil. There are sanitizers that are good to be applied in the soil, after your plant is already there. It's safe for plants. So you keep accumulating all of those disease prevention techniques, and then at the end you have a nice, healthy tree to sell. Thank you very much.